You know, a dollar is a dollar is a dollar.
Yes.
Who gives
Yes.
a where it comes from?
Yes.
You can't be afraid. And when I
No.
started working as a flight instructor, listen, I had mouths to feed. I had a house to pay for.
Yes.
I was a flight instructor. I worked for Amazon. I flew part-time on a jet. I worked on a yacht.
Yes.
I did inventory. And it doesn't matter about the jobs. It's just that you do what you got to do.
Yep.
No one's coming to save you.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the reality.
Yep.
And the truth is, the world is your oyster, right? This is the greatest country in the world. I don't care what anyone says.
100%.
But you got to open that door and you got to get out there and you got to do something.
100%.
And it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what you do. If you're a good human, you won with me. You won. I don't care whether you pick up garbage or do this, do that,
Same
or
way.
surgery. But that's what I believe in. I don't care.
Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. Listen, I have a good guest today. My guy Frankie is here. You know, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Frankie.
I'm Frankie. I just really officially met you a couple of days.
Yes.
And work out at the gym we work out,
Yes.
too. And fighting battles that we fight. And I'm a hustler at heart. I fly airplanes. I sail on yachts. And I make money wherever I can. I'm on Craigslist. I'm everywhere. I'm 40 years old. And
Yes.
there's just a beat in my heart. And I just keep going despite all of my, trials and everything. I just, I'm a worker at heart.
Look, Frankie's being modest, so I'm going to tell a little bit more of the backstory. Frankie's a guy I actually see in the gym every day. For everyone knows, even the motivated needs to find motivation. Every day I watch this man works out hard. I'm like a dog. And not only does he work out hard, he's the positive energy in the gym every single day where he speaks to everybody. Good morning. He shows nothing but good vibes and good spirit. So me and Frankie had a conversation, and we realized that we had a lot more in common than we knew. And what I loved about it is when I invited him onto the podcast, Frankie has a great story and he's fought a lot of battles and he's continued to fight battles, but I'm gonna let him explain it. But Frankie inspires me every day to get my behind in that gym and don't make no excuse and put a smile on your face while you're doing it. So Frank, how your story start out?
I don't even know where to begin, but at the end of the day, why I am who I am and why I speak to people the way I do, it's the fact that I don't want people ever feeling the pain that I felt through. I've grown up to that place where I don't take anything out on anyone. I do to my loved ones, which is a big journey for me, but to everyday people, I know everybody's fighting a battle that I can't see. And it started a long time ago for me, even when I was back in my childhood. I came from a very toxic household that eventually my mother and father split me and my brother up.
Wow.
And my brother chose my mother, and I chose my father because I was loyal to him. And I had to become a man. Starting early, 13 years old, I had no choice. I had one buddy from Long Beach. He's still my buddy. He's my brother. He's my ride or die, that he stuck by my side, but he saw everything kind of fall apart.
You know, one thing that I think a lot of people don't acknowledge, that even in a divorce, the children go through it also. I think some people talk about separation from a adult aspect, but they don't look at it from the children aspect. I've been through divorce myself, and I know it played a major part on my child more than I gave light at first. But again, I realize now from hearing a lot of people talk, it's very common that a lot of people have issues from it. Would you say that transpired in your life from going through that divorce?
Absolutely. And shame on me, because the reality is, while I put the work in, I didn't really put the work in, and it impacted all of my future relationships going forward.
Wow.
And I think to this day, even sitting next to you right now, it still forever breaks my heart.
Wow.
And even though we're still sitting here, and even though I'm 40, there's always a chance to improve better, right?
Wow.
And I had a couple moments recently that really made me define that.
You know, we like to use the term king. And what made me realize the king in you is when you show your strength, but you also show your vulnerability. I think a lot of people don't understand vulnerability from a male aspect is something that has to be learned, because in most cases we taught that's a sign of weakness. So when I'm looking at you and when you're telling me your story, I'm like, wow, this man is a king. And I'm proud to actually know you from that day because, like I said, you inspire me. And it's amazing because vulnerability, I love when a man is vulnerable, especially when he's vulnerable with the right people, who's not gonna ostracize him or judge him. So when you came and we had those conversations and we basically spilled into each other about what we've been through, it was like, wow, wow, wow. And I wanna say this one thing, the reason why I love this episode right now is because as a young black man, I grew up in a predominantly blacker area. I didn't know that white people experience the same things until almost adult. Like even my adult years and towards college years, I started realizing like, yo, they go through similar stories. Similar. As you just told your story, it's a lot of people that experience that same experience.
Yeah.
So what would you say became a constant battle for you going through this divorce?
Anger, the feeling of emptiness, abandonment.
Okay.
Setting the expectations, subconsciously setting them so high where just no one could ever meet me, or being able to feel loved.
Wow.
Like real love.
Yes.
Like even I just learned that. Like I've learned that I'm not capable of being loved because I'm not loving myself.
Oof. Wow. And that's a tough battle within itself. Wait, right? I suffered at one point. I'm starting to get over it. It's called imposter syndrome. Where I come from, most people don't get to the level I've gotten to. And a lot of times I feel guilty to the point where I also survivor's remorse, where it's like, do I belong here? Do I deserve this? Am I selling out? Am I not selling out? And it was like a constant battle that I was going through with myself also. And so I can understand, pretty much what you're saying from from personal experience. What else you got?
It's interesting because it's almost like textbook, because every single time that I get to that place where maybe I think I'm getting where I'm feeling love and life is good, I immediately sabotage myself and I don't even know I'm doing it every single time, classically. And I find that repeatedly in my life.
Guilty as charged. Every woman I would have ever met in my life, I tormented their life because I would torment my own life. I look for validation from people who were trauma-based people themselves. And I bonded with a lot of my relationships based on trauma. One of my ex-relationships, I extremely became codependent on the mother and father aesthetics because I didn't have it. So I fell in love with her parents more than I actually loved the relationship because I felt the need, the urgency to be accepted and validated by parents because I grew up with a single mother. So it's just, I would be obsessed, like doing everything to please them. And then I started losing my own identity in the process.
I get that. And that kind of started that young too, even when I was married. And my first wife, well, my ex-wife, I should say,
Okay.
I tortured her for 10 years.
Wow.
And I own that. But the truth is how we came to be and really how we had our first daughter together was, we put the cart before the horse. But again, I wasn't ready to be a dad. We weren't ready to be a family. I wasn't ready to get married. But I know that knowing that information, I wanted to do the right thing and step up to the plate. So what did I do? I classically went back into survival mode.
Wow.
And did what a man had to do. And it wasn't perfect. It wasn't ideal. There were a lot of challenges, restrictions, faith, right? We come from two different faith backgrounds. It didn't mesh. But I didn't give a you-know-what. I wanted to do the right thing. And I stuck around. And I got spit in my face for many years until finally Hurricane Sandy came, wiped all of us out over here, and opened my door and let that family in to be a part of it. And but I was unhappy, man, because it was I just kept tormenting, but I was really tormenting myself. I wasn't where I wanted to be. I wasn't following my childhood dream. I wasn't where I wanted to be. All I did was just meet the task and engage. And even at 40, unfortunately, that's all I know how to do. Meanwhile, I forgot all about the destination. I forgot about the journey, and all I gave a shit about was the destination. And you know what, man? I lost my kids as of it.
Wow.
I lost my wife as of it.
Wow.
And I lost the recent love of my life out of that.
Wow.
And that's what broke me.
Wow. But you know, the beauty is accountability. I think that's where the growth starts. And a lot of people, they're not very accountable. And the one thing I see with you is what you've done and what you didn't do and what you did do. and you acknowledging it. And to be on a public forum and actually saying it says volumes, because there are some people who still live in denial. And last time I heard that, denial is a river in Egypt, and that's where a lot of people live. And for me, I went through denial at times myself, where I would deny my truth. Like, for instance, my ex-wife, I could have never fully been a great husband because I didn't even know how to be a husband.
Yeah.
And on top of it, I felt like I could be a boyfriend in a marriage, and didn't understand there were two different roles that I had to learn to switch, and I didn't understand it. And I would force myself to, I'm a boyfriend. I would leave at times, and when you're a family, you stand there and you fight and you work it out. I didn't understand that aspect. I felt like it was replaceable. But again, I come from a single mother, and that's not justifying it, but in the same breath, you learn what you see, right? So
It's interesting how you said that, because when I was married, me and my ex-wife, we had different mindsets and different things. And what happened was I wanted that family unit, right? I wanted that power couple. I wanted to take over the world with her. That's what I wanted. And I wanted her to be my captain, and I wanted to be her captain. I wasn't this, I wanted her to rise with me. But what happened was she had different priorities. I had different priorities. So what happened? I had a career. I was hustling at night. I was trying to better myself. And all of a sudden, I became the boyfriend, and I started going out into the night.
Sound like me.
Not necessarily looking for another woman.
Yes.
But looking for validation,
Yes.
attention.
Yes.
Like, hey, I see you.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
I rewind the clock and I look back on my life, I'm like, it wasn't about another chick. It was about, there was something that was missing, that you were pushed. And I'm not making excuses. I know what I did.
Yes.
But you start to understand as you get older, like sometimes why we do the things we do.
Yes.
And eventually, towards the latter end of the marriage, and just a little bit more about my story, unfortunately, I come from 2 suicides in my life.
Wow.
I had a family member fully commit suicide. I had another family who partially committed. And it made you think about life. And when the whole family was falling apart, I remember this day so clearly. It was many years ago. I had to become the captain. I had to jump into survival mode, and someone had to do something.
Yes.
Many years later, my uncle, he died in front of me. So I said I had enough. And that's when I finally, not snapped. After 10 years, I decided, Frank, what are you doing with your life?
Yes.
Where are you going?
Yes.
And what's ironic is, it was the first time I took charge of my own self as a man, and I went after me for the greater good of my family.
Yes.
And ironically, lost it all.
Wow.
My heart was pure. I knew what I wanted.
Yes.
People couldn't understand what I was doing. My ex, when I asked her to send me to flight school or help me for flight school, she goes, I'm not signing that loan for you. I'm like, but you're my wife.
Yes.
Now that was painful. So I hung up the phone and I actually called the lender, and I said, and he asked me, he goes, Frank, what do you got to put up? I said, F it, put up the house. I called her back. I said, I'm going to flight school with or without you, because I believed in a bigger picture. I still wanted that future with my kids and my ex-wife, despite everything.
Yes.
I knew the end game. I believed in that vision. And of course, when I went, and of course, when the money stopped and the lifestyle changed, there were many other components. But in my opinion, that was the trigger that led to that downfall. And I lost that was my first loss at everything.
You know something? You triggered an emotion when you said something. That's why it's weird, because though worlds apart, we're very close. Our worlds may be further apart, or actually closer than I thought they were. When I was buying a nightclub, I needed someone to put the business in their name. I went to my ex at the time, and I asked her, and I begged her, and I pleaded with her. She told me no. And then I looked at her and I was like, but I can't put it in my name. She said, that's a personal problem. And that was the reality, that we were so further apart, even though me and her was in the same house.
Yeah.
And then it's weird, because when we were separating, she tried to go after it, which is ideal. Like, wow, you didn't want to sign it. You could have had it, but you didn't want to sign it. But then when we divorced, you wanted it. But it's just weird, because I can say she wasn't being a wife, but I could also say I gave her reasons not to be a wife. So I can say, like, honestly, I've done so much that there was no trust there. And for her to put that in her name and take that responsibility on my part, she didn't trust that she didn't trust me. And I give it to her, and I respect that. Looking back now, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Initially, I didn't think like that. I was like, you horrible woman. Everything was, I was always the victim. I was always the victim. Have you played the victim a lot of times in your life?
I have. And after a while of doing it and I rewind the clock, you get to a point where you just get tired of your bullshit and start owning it. And I hear the same line all the time, like, you know, it's not airing your dirty laundry. It's not like, oh, Frank's too honest or what have you. No, you be honest.
Yes.
You hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
Let the world know. Because the truth is, when you let the world know, you let other people know to be honest. To come out of the shadows.
Right. You're right. You're so right. You're so right. We've been taught and trained to just lie to ourselves. I think people who have master's degrees and doctrines in lying to themselves to the point where they don't even see their own madness. And then they become delusional. And then they start making an excuse for the delusion. Because the delusion becomes reality, because delusion is only perception. It's how you view life and how you think. And that's what a lot of people, they view life wrong, right? So that.
I saw something and it really struck me. It said accountability is just ownership. A lot of people, they think accountability is like something bad, but you can have a good situation and hold people accountable. Like businesses, you're holding your workers accountable. It's just ownership. It's not, being down or striking somebody bad or talking bad about them. No, accountability is just ownership. So I think a lot of people, we need to realize that it's just ownership, owning up to our situation, owning up to what's going on in our life so we can do better.
You can only fix what you can acknowledge. What you can't acknowledge, you can't fix. That's why, what do you have to know? Like an AA, their first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem. Most people can't admit it, Most people can't. Yeah.
But also accountability, the real is when you hold yourself accountable or whatever you're accountable, you know what happens? Truth is real. Like everything becomes real really quickly. And some people, they can't handle that, but that's where growth begins. That's where the change begins.
Yes. Yes. You're right. And change requires a lot of facing yourself. I avoided the mirror. I would not look in the mirror because I didn't like what I would see. And then, the sad part is I treated the world the way I personally felt. And they say hurt people. So when you hurt, and you tend to look to hurt others. And I'm guilty of it. I've done it. I've done it plenty of times. Because you realize that even when you were younger, you're taught that look for someone to make you happy. And that's not true. You look for someone that makes you happier. But we have to be already aware of our happiness and doing the things. See, what I'm hearing from you is you became purposeful. That's what I'm hearing. I got to live in my purpose. Otherwise, you can't be happy if you're not purposeful. Would you agree? I
would agree, but I found that so hard because I'm also at the same time, I'm so hard on myself. I destroy myself. Like I said, and even the closest ones I managed to destroy. But going back to your mirror analogy, I mean, there's a reason why when you see me at the gym, why I stand against that mirror. And that's because when I'm looking in that mirror, I'm looking at the worst version of myself that I'm trying to fight every day. And I make a comment to that. And they're like, Frank, why are you so angry? I go, I'm not angry. I said, but I want to be better than him in that mirror because he's all my faults. Now I have to let that go. I've got, there, but that's what I see. I'm in no competition with nobody. I stay in my own lane. I want to help everyone. I want to be... You're right. I do. If I could, I would probably never get a workout done because I would take a moment and say hello to every member at the gym we go to because that's who I am.
100%. 100%. Genuinely, too.
And there's no BS there. There's no BS there. And like I mentioned, and the fact is simple, and I've heard this from guys who I fly with, and, it's just like, they're like, Frank, you're so good to people. I said I am because I don't want them experiencing what I've experienced inside. I can fight my own battles internally, but you don't get that right to see that. You deserve goodness because the world is a dark and scary place. And I was just saying it earlier, like, it got to the place where even basic etiquette, thank you, holding doors is all out the windows. It's so freaking sad,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would feel better by taking the time and just say, hey, how you doing? Because you just don't know, because that could just change someone's day. And
Yes.
everybody forgets that detail. And that's what bothers me.
Yes.
Because it's simple.
Yes.
We just F it up somewhere.
With pursuing the best version of yourself, I think the one issue I had to learn personally is giving myself grace. I had to learn how to accept that I'll never be perfect. I can identify that everyone else in the world isn't perfect, but I always felt like I can work on becoming perfect. And when I wouldn't do something perfect, I would hold myself in hostage. Like, I'm like, oh my God, in bondage. And I'm like, you got to realize that we learn forward, right? We learn forward. We experience things to make us greater. And the book is not at its ending. And while we're writing these chapters, we have to accept the fact that there will be some bad chapters in our story. But at the end of the day, the ending is the greatest triumph that we look forward to, and how we get to the ending. And no one really, you can't understand the movie unless you see the beginning. But the greatest part of the movie is supposed to be the ending. That's the life totality story. It has to be how it ends, right? And moving forward, what are you doing different from what you were doing before?
It's interesting that you said about the ending, because that's what I was fixated, right? It was the end game. It was my golden carrot. It was where I wanted to be. But what's interesting is there's a flip to that.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a flip
Okay.
what I've learned. And I've managed to bulldoze and wipe out everything in between. My relationships with my children, the woman I just, stopped being with. I focused so hard on that end game. Like you said, right? It's all about the end of the book. I missed every page of that chapter.
Wow.
And that was my recent realization. And that really broke me. And it's still breaking me. But something's got to change, right? I want it. I want that end game, because that's all I think about.
Yes.
Yes. Something bigger than ourselves. You're right. It'll never be perfect. But I'll tell you one thing. It is a tiring, self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is. It is.
Because
It
at the
is.
same time, it's not just that. Remember, you're a father. You're a provider.
Yes.
You're a friend.
Yes.
You're a brother.
Yes.
You're a mentor. You're a supporter.
Appreciate it.
There's all these roles that people you don't hear about, right?
Yes.
The men carry so much weight.
You have to wear a lot of hats.
And you're right. That's where I struggle. I don't give myself grace.
You have to.
Every day is just another day of self-deprecation, and that's horrible. And that was my realization. It'll never be good enough, because again, from my childhood, that's where it started. Because I was told, this sucks. You suck. Do better. Do better. And I'm not blaming my childhood. This is not going back in time, but you start to understand why things occur.
Yes.
I'm dealing with this. My kids aren't really talking to me right now. By my own destruction, I thought I loved someone unconditionally.
Yes.
And conditionally it broke.
Wow.
And I own that, and it was all me. And it's not just about that. It's all about the death and destruction that I left trying to get to that end game. And that's where I'm struggling.
It took me a while to accept that my story is my story, but in the same process, certain things I might want in my story, it might not be meant for my story. And I think that's what it took me to learn, like, every day, as long as you're moving forward, you're moving. And I think that's why, and when he said he works out in the mirror, he's not lying. He work out in front of a mirror. And I think by you seeing yourself and understanding yourself, I think that's the win. Because like I said, on the pursuit of perfection, we'll never become perfect. We'll never be. It's impossible. And I think that's what I had to come to the realization, because even when a person doesn't accept the fact that they'll never be perfect, it could give you a little level of arrogance too. And it gave me a level of arrogance. I used to play sports and I was really good at it. And if I mess up, you think it would be the end of the world. And I'm like, I'm human. But again, it took me a while to accept, especially when people have such high expectations. and it creates this monster.
Yeah, I like how you said that.
The monster. And I think the monster is the fear of failure.
Sure.
And I was scared to fail. I was so scared to fail. And we realized, like, if the world show you how many times they fail, every successful person is a failure who just didn't give up. Every successful person is a failure who just didn't give up. And that's what I see. For you to just wake up one day and say, yo, I'm going to flight school, that's amazing. And was willing to put up your house. Like, come on, that ain't no regular story. Like, that's OD, right? I don't think a lot of people have the balls to do that. I'm being honest.
It's about, I'm a Taurus, so I'm very stubborn and I'm risk averse. And
I'm a Taurus.
So,
and I knew it. I'm listening to him talk. He's describing
this is the bull in me.
It's crazy. What's your birthday?
May 17th.
I'm the 16th. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm listening to him. He sound like me. It's crazy. Listen, and I promise you guys, I had no clue. I had no clue. That's crazy. Wow. But the way you're describing yourself, I'm like, yo, he sound like me. It's crazy. We're hard on ourselves. Very hard on ourselves. One day, my girl said to me, she said, yo, you know what I don't like? You're very hard on everybody. And I said, you ever looked at me? She said, but I feel like you don't have nobody being hard on you. I said, I'm 80 times hard on myself. I said, you don't even know. She has no clue. Yeah. I'm like, I'm 80 times hard on myself. Well, I'm expecting 20% of what I'm expecting 1,000% more for myself. And she was like, wow, I didn't know. I said, yeah. So as a Taurus, now I can relate. I get it. We're very stubborn. In a good way too. We can use our stubbornness in a good way too.
It works us because I think, in my opinion, how you and I have gotten so far is because of that grit, that stubbornness, that failure to quit and figure it out. I mean, I spent nights in my old house, building spreadsheets on how I was going to pay for all this, and you figure it out. And even then, when the money stopped, I was working at Amazon. I was finding hustles. I was. $1 is $1 is $1.
Yes.
Who gives a shit where it comes from? You can't be afraid. And when I started working as a flight instructor, listen, I had mouths to feed. I had a house to pay for.
Yes.
I was a flight instructor. I worked for Amazon. I flew part-time on a jet. I worked on a yacht.
Yes.
I did inventory. And it doesn't matter about the jobs. It's just that you do what you got to do.
Yep.
No one's coming to save you.
Yep.
That's the reality.
Yep.
And the truth is, the world is your oyster, right? This is the greatest country in the world. I don't care what anyone says.
100%.
But you got to open that door and you got to get out there and you got to do something.
100%.
And it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what you do. If you're a good human, you won with me. You won. I don't care whether you pick up garbage or do this, do that, or surgery. But that's what I believe in. I don't care. I'm a professional pilot, but that don't mean shit. So I wear the 4 stripes. I could wear a T-shirt and fly the plane just fine.
Yes.
I got nothing to prove. I'm not greater than you, and
Well, we still gonna give it up though. We wear the 4 stripes. We still gonna give you the applause for that.
I gotta find him.
But he's right though. It's like a title shouldn't make you. It's a part of you, but it's not you. I think a lot of people have become. Today I was talking to a younger guy, and the one thing I think no matter what level I get to, I won't let my barbershop ever go, is because the conversations that you have in that shop are amazing. Like today, the young guy said to me, the one thing he said, you always tell me is, titles means nothing. I said, title means something because you accomplished something, but you have to be more than a human other than just your title. Like you meet some people, they wear their title to the point where they have no personality. You ever met a cop and they're just like a cop all day? I'm like, you don't get bored? Like it's like going to a job and never clock out. It's like you went to work and you've never clocked out. You're a cop every single day. It's like, let it go. But again, it's been normalized where people believe that this is how we're supposed to be. And I think that, and I want to extend my flowers to you, because it's like, the willingness to be vulnerable to me is the ultimate catalyst for strength. Is the ultimate. I think that because we're breaking protocol. This goes against what you're taught, and I'm taught. You don't do this. Like you're taught. You ever the song Eminem, Toy Soldier?
Oh yeah.
He said, "Tighten up, little soldier." Like put up your, pick up your chin and just tighten up. That's what you're taught that you're supposed to be. So, I always tell them, they say a man don't have feelings, and I always ask myself, then why am I feeling this? There were times I'm wondering about myself, like, am I the only man that feel like this? Am I the only man that feels depression, anxiety, stress, overwhelmed? I feel like, what is the next play? Oh my God. And while I could be on vacation feeling like that, I could be on vacation still worrying about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But again, you start seeing that more people have the relatability factor than they're not,
I think that also in my current organization, because like I said, I fly. I also teach.
Okay.
I also instruct. I bring in our new hires. I bring in our recurrence, our upgrades, and I make them better than what they were yesterday. That's how I always set the tone.
Yes.
But I always create an atmosphere that I acknowledge. I know you're stressed. I know you're suffering.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
You're in my classroom. It's a safe place. We're going to talk about it.
Wow.
I said, before you hit that airplane, before you get in there, I said, I want everything out. I don't want you suffering in silence. Now, ironically, I preach that, right? I preach that. But I'm classically known for suffering in silence.
I think that's most men.
I'll even, I'll tell you real quick, you don't even know this. A couple weeks ago, probably mid-December, I drove my car to Florida to start a new career.
Wow.
I got involved with the United States government to fly for them.
Wow.
One of the greatest opportunities, and to serve my country. Right, I got to that place as a divorced dad with my situation, and I lost my purpose with that. I felt I lost my purpose. So I said, I need a purpose. Serve my country, something bigger than myself, and I still believe in that. I went down there, and I met an amazing unit, an amazing group of people.
Okay.
Wonderful, humbling, welcome, tough sons of guns,
Yes.
keeping our borders fine, amazing stuff. Then I go home. I go to the hotel. And I would self-torture myself for 2 weeks straight. Because what happened to me was I spent years like a fellow tourist, stubborn, go, 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 go. And all of a sudden, everything slowed down. And my brain caught up for the last 2.5 years. And my brain started playing movies of Frank. What happened to your kids? The woman you were seeing? Your friends? I scared the shit out of myself. And sure enough, New Year's Eve came, and that's when it broke me. Right? I was in a different environment with new people that welcomed me. I was so grateful for that. But when that clock struck midnight, and I had no one to kiss or hold, that's when it hit me. I suffered enough. And 2 days later, I said, F it. I got in my car, drove 1,300 miles back to New York, left everything.
Wow.
I also had some family stuff going on, but the factor was I got tired of suffering, and I just reacted. I went home. I went back to what I thought was important.
When I was going through my divorce, I was going to switch states. I was about to leave, and then I started realizing that I started creating this thing in my mind, but I was really running away from myself. And I kept noticing that I was running from myself. And the crazy part, I felt like I was the greatest sprinter in the world because I would run. And I'm talking about it became a continuous problem of running and running and running. And then my trauma responses became better and better. I've gotten better at making it seem like I'm actually better than what I actually am. As soon as you ask me, am I okay? First, no, I'm good, I'm great. And I learned how to put on this, like at a job, that fake face, and I kept, they call it code switching. That's what I would do with my emotions. I would code switch from really being depressed behind closed doors, but in person, everything seemed so happy. So one day, I'll give you a quick story. And my mom was in the house with me one day, and she said she was going to work. And this is me being vulnerable. And she said she was going to work. And I said, I had no problem. Said, see you later. So I was laying in my room. She forgot to tell me something. I was smiling, and she was happy, and I was happy, acting like I was happy. She left. I thought she left, and I thought I was the only one in the house. I started crying in my room. She came back to tell me something. She was like, you was just happy. Why are you crying? I said, Mom, sometimes I don't feel worthy. I don't feel like I deserve. And she looked at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Mom, sometimes it gets the best of me. And I'm like, but what I've come to the realization is that the devil attacks you when you're at your most vulnerable spaces. And he knows how to play on your emotions, because a lot of times, Frank, we say things out loud and he hears us. He can't hear what's in our head, but he can hear what we say. So when I say, I don't care anymore, he knows I'm lying. He knows, he sees it, because he sees the action don't match what I'm saying. So then he attacked me plenty of times, and I didn't realize that I was being attacked because I was giving him the actual strategy to beat me. And I said the only way I can beat him is by working on me, so therefore he can't keep attacking me and I'm losing. Because I was going to lose the battle no matter what, until I had to face my own demons. I got tired of running from them.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when days I would say I would go outside, and sometimes I get jumped by depression, anxiety, and stress, and I'm overwhelmed already. And then they're looking at you like, yo, you look beat up. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But in reality, I'm dying inside. But again, there's a lot of men that are actually going through that, but they're taught that you're not supposed to be human. And that's what kills men. We have the highest orphan rate that men take their own lives the most because of the depression, the anxiety, and the stress that they go through in the actual everyday, the productivity of having to be a man. It gets overwhelming, especially when you don't always have it together. You know, I have to pretend like I always got it together, even when I don't have it together. You know, it's just what it is, and that's what you've learned. It's like a survival tactic, you know? You learn how to survive based on what you experienced, you know? What else would you say is as far as some experiences you had? The driving back is wild. Leaving everything is wild.
And again, what was, it's interesting, you know, driving home, 1,300 miles, that wasn't easy. And while I wasn't supposed to, I drove right to that girl's house,
Okay.
to that woman's house. And I made it clear about, what I wanted out of life. I got tired of running.
Yes.
I ran back.
Yes.
Because that's what I learned about myself. I run away. I run away.
I'm guilty.
And I got in my car, and again, like I said, there were some other things, but she was the driving factor. And that was something that I realized, oh shit, like this is what I want. Mm-hmm. And as a man, like sometimes you pull out all the stops.
Yes.
You just react, right?
Yes.
You speak from here. Sometimes, this takes over versus this.
Yes. Yes.
And then something interesting happened.
Okay.
I learned that I may have overstayed my welcome.
Wow.
That even though I was in survival mode and always go, go, go and trying to push and drive, what I was really doing was I was guilting her. And I think that broke me down. And she didn't deserve that.
Wow.
So in that moment, they say if you love something, you let it go.
Yes. Yes.
That was probably one of the hardest decisions I had to make, given all of my trauma, because out of everything that's happened in my life, divorce, suicide, I mean, you name it. I mean, I could go on with this, and we all have stories, and I'm not, she actually was my rock.
Wow. Wow.
And I threw my rock away.
Wow. Wow.
Because I didn't want to see her suffer anymore. She didn't deserve to get dragged through the mud like that. And that's where, as a man, I had to put my foot down. I said, it's time to free you. You deserve to be happy. You deserve a better man. I'm not going to pull you down. And that's the God's honest truth. And I have moments where I get really down about that. But sometimes you have to do that as a man, or even a woman. You have to protect your self-worth, to put yourself forward, to put up a boundary.
Yes.
I don't know boundaries. And this, I think, in my life was probably the first firm boundary I ever put in my life.
Wow. Wow.
Because all I did was serve others.
Guilty as charged. You want to know something? And I genuinely believe this. Even a broken man, right? We say that a woman is a nurturer. I think a woman can heal the surgery after the surgery was done. She can help heal it as far as cater to your wounds. but I don't think a woman should be a Band-Aid. And I think a lot of times we look for them as Band-Aids to hold together what we need to be holding together ourselves and do the surgery ourselves. I think that's what it took me a long time to realize, because a lot of men, and I'm going to say a part two to it, a lot of men are still hurting women because of some of the times the first experiences they've had in relationships. Like my first love was my first traumatic experience as far as relationships, and it carried over into next relationships, because they say that the victim becomes the victim when you experience some level of trauma. Now you usually give it back. And that's what I started seeing with myself. I would cheat because my first girlfriend that I loved cheated on me. And I said, yo, I'm gonna cheat before you cheat on me. Because I would beat you to basically the toxic behavior before you beat me to the toxic behavior. It was like there's one piece of cookie left. Rather than us split it, I'm taking the whole cookie. And that's how I thought. And because it was like a response to not wanting to feel that feeling ever again. I was like, I don't want it ever again, you know?
That's a tourist defense tactic. That's a tourist defense tactic.
Yes.
Classically done by us. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's scary how much, yeah.
Oh my God. I would beat it to the punch. Like, you know what? I'm gonna drag it. I'm gonna do the most. And either you're gonna deal with me, but I'm not gonna deal with you. And then I basically started dating my ex, because in my mind, she was my ex. Even though it was a new person, she was my ex.
Yeah.
So I would even say things that we didn't even experience. I'll say, let me guess, you want to talk to another guy? And that wasn't even the situation. But again, an unhealed spirit can only bleed onto anything they come in contact with. So my spirit being unhealed, I can only bleed on anything I've come into contact with. And it took me a while to accept that fact. Would you say that was a lot of your experiences?
That was a lot of my experiences, and coming to the conclusion that sometimes being alone is okay and necessary. Right? What do they say? Like on my airplane, right? You got to put your oxygen mask on first before you put the baby's mask on.
Yes. Yes.
And as much as I teach that in my class, what do you think I'm doing? I'm putting my kids on my mask on first.
Yes.
And that's where I fail. But you're right though. Like even now, like after the fact, like I know that I'm not ready for a relationship. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Listen, I love my women, don't get me wrong. And I love my good times, right?
100%.
I enjoy the spirit, I enjoy the energy, but I am that's not fair to the other party.
Yes.
That is not fair. And sometimes you got to really put your foot down like that, because sometimes people just react and go out, and you're right, they're finding they're Band-Aids.
Yes.
Band-Aids rip, Band-Aids fall off. Band-Aids are bullshit.
Yes.
And what does it become? It becomes a dumpster fire. You're going to these cheap wins on, your quick dopamine hits, Hinge, Bumble, Stir, call it what you want, flip here, flip there, you're on a date, it doesn't go so well. All you're doing is causing more trauma in your heart and your brain.
100%.
That's all you're doing.
Become numb to the problem. You're just looking for, what do you call that? What is it? What is a Novocaine to it?
Yeah.
And you just to learn how to cope with the problem opposed to fixing it. When the real issue itself, and it's hard to say that to yourself, because you, like we say, when you're a victim, you tend to always justify giving it back to somebody else because you experienced something. And it took me a while to even be able to sit on my platform and have these kind of conversations and not feel like I'm going to be judged, because I don't care, because my vulnerability has helped so many, and your vulnerability today is going to help so many, because again, there are more people that have this similar story than not.
Yeah.
They're just not comfortable with telling the truth. Someone said, we become addicted to distractions. 100% facts. Love Dr. Rob, you're 100% right. We do become addicted to distractions. I remember at one point, I had 7 women. 7 women. And I'm like, this is crazy. So if it's 7 days in a week, you start calling them days of the week. And it's crazy, and you think that that's normal. And you realize that I am really toxic. And then again, this one say it's over, you're like, so what? You're like waiting for them to leave. And you're giving them reasons to leave.
It's also a headache too.
It is a headache.
It's a lot of coordination and it's subversiveness. Like it's very tiring.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I grew up in old school Italian family. My uncles, yeah, they had, gumas, all that stuff. Everything you see in Goodfellas, that's all true.
I believe it.
You know, and
believe
as I get older, I'm like, I don't want that shit. That's too much, too expensive.
It's too much. It's too expensive.
I gotta hustle.
Yes. Yes.
But even again, like I wasn't married. I was with my lady friend for 3 years. I stayed loyal.
Yeah.
I stayed loyal.
Yeah.
Because I also know who I was to an extent.
Yes.
I deal with my demons. I deal with the hustle. I survival mode. But at the core, I knew who I was. I knew I was a professional. I knew that every single time I landed, I got home, on the hutch, and I used to call it the turn of hope. And I was like, I'm coming home to her. I got another day on the ground is a good day.
Yes.
And everything else, all the noise, all the distractions. It's funny. Like I still say this to this day. It's all fun and games, right? When you go out, it's all thongs and trapdoors and firecrackers and all that bullshit. And you do your thing, and then you know what happens? You turn that light on, it becomes sheer terror.
Yep.
Sheer terror. Because it's instant regret, and the game changes very quickly. I've seen that, and in my opinion, as a man, it's one of the worst feelings. Because it scared the shit out of me a couple times in my earlier years.
Yes.
And even while I was going through, my divorce, like I was separated, my ex was seeing people, but even then, it was just, I couldn't handle it. It was too much.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it. It's not what it was in my life.
Too much energy. Too much energy.
Yeah.
You want to hear something crazy, and I'm gonna be honest. Even when I started healing, as far as like not needing a multitude of women, I still cheated emotionally.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because emotionally I was never available. I was never available. So people don't understand that even when you're emotionally unavailable, you're cheating. And it took me a while to see that emotionally I'm not available. Like I'm here, but I'm not here.
You're not here. Yeah.
You know? So it's like I started seeing that aspect too. Like you have to be present. For instance, if a woman cares about something that don't even concern you, you have to at least show concern, because to her it means a lot. The same way we would want them to show concern with the things we care about that they don't care about. Most cases women will go to the football game with you because you want to see the game, but she's there supporting her man. And I had to learn that love is a two-way street, and love don't have one-way traffic. And it took me a while to understand that sometimes it might be more lanes going her way this time. The next was more lanes going my way, because it's all about what's needed at that time and adjusting to make the relationship healthy. And it took me a while to understand these aspects. Would you say that you've been through that same aspect?
I've been through that, but more or less unbalanced. It was more or less, she certainly had more lanes than me. Because when she wanted to do certain things, I would always go for her. It was always about her.
Yes.
And I may have fallen into that trap a little bit because everything I did was for her.
Okay.
Again, like I mentioned, she was my rock, and everything outside of that, everything outside of our little bubble was pretty much chaos.
Wow.
I had issues, my family isn't doing well. My kids, they live with their mom in New Jersey. They don't talk to me. It's, again, it's not a sob story, but what I'm saying is that I found peace with looking up to her.
Wow. Wow.
But in the process, I ran into an issue. I lost myself.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't put my foot down. I didn't set my boundaries. And I was emotionally unavailable because I was not cheating, but it was about the money. It was about the hustle. It was, Frank, put your uniform on. You got to fly. Whoa, fly. Frank, you got to sail. Frank, you got to do this. It's okay. You'll see her next week. You'll see her the following week. And it became a lot of that. And that's where I hurt the relationship.
But I do believe that a lot of people that are going through like certain depressions or certain personal experiences that might be overwhelming for them, I do believe they usually overly indulge in things that distract them from it. For instance, like work has been one of my ways of coping with life, where I deep dive into work to the point where I might come home for a second and I'm right back outside. When I was married, rather than face the issues, I basically overly indulged in things that I didn't have to, so I didn't have to face the issues. And I was just like, you know what? Ignore the problem. It's like it's gonna go away. It's like basically, there's a surgery needed, but I'm wrapping Band-Aids on it. Like, you know what? Temporary fix, but a bigger problem. And I started seeing that was my consistent patterns, consistently. Would you say what were some of the patterns you developed as far as with yourself? Like when you're going through like a dark space, what are some patterns?
I work.
Yeah,
I buried myself in work. I'm not going to lie to you. There were times where I kept multiple uniforms in my car. I would land the airplane, switch out, put another set of epaulets on, and I was sailing on the boat.
Wow.
I was moving. And I got so good at burying myself into work because, one, it was productive. Two, I was making money. Three, it was helping the bigger story.
Yes.
It was a drug.
Yeah.
It's crazy to say, but work became a powerful drug for me because I deflected in there. I hid in there. And you know what? My organization was giving me that drug. Frank, you want to do another 2 weeks? Frank, we got a boat trip. Frank, you want to do this? And I never hesitated.
What is it called? A workaholic?
And it got worse because then when the music stopped
Yes.
and I was sitting with my own thoughts,
Yes.
I had nothing
Yes.
other than the gym.
Frank quote he likes to say is, I like the gym because therapy is too expensive. And he makes me laugh every time he says it. He said, I love the gym. He said, therapy is too expensive. He said, it's cheaper than therapy. And I'm like, he's right. And I think a lot of people, it's like someone just wrote, a Love Doctor also said, because you do have to love you first. And a lot of us haven't fallen in love with ourselves because I think a lot of us really don't even know ourselves. A lot of people, they've lied to themselves so long, they're still trying to figure out themselves. And I'm guilty.
Would you guys say just like the journey of finding yourself, most people, they stop because it's so hard. Like sometimes you're just alone. You get certain moments where it's just dark and depression. You may not even know where it's coming from, but you just wake up some days, may not even just want to just continue to pursue the journey just because how difficult it is. Do you think a lot of men like face that?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it's a 50-50 shot, but for men, like kind of like us, like we're a rare breed. Like I'm learning so much about him that I think we're very much wired the same way, that even though in that dark space, right, we find a way to light that light. We don't have a choice. We're going to get up regardless. I've had days where I didn't want to get up and it was 3 a.m. I said, no, it's time to move. And I kicked my own you-know-what to get out of bed. Because there's other responsibilities. There's bigger things at play. People depend on us.
Yes.
As much as, again, I love my kids. I have 2 beautiful children. And I know, because where they live and their situation, they have a happy life.
Yes.
But in some way, they need me. And I have to fight for them.
Yes. Yes. And the fight alone is becoming the best version of self. You know what I'm saying? That's the number one first fight. Because again, even if we don't fix ourselves, we're good for nobody. As we're considerably being the head, we have to be mindful of the things we do and the decisions we make because it affects everyone. It took me a while to realize that I am the head of my house. And I had to realize I have to make conscious decisions that may not even be great for me, but had to be great for others. Because I think the other day we was having a discussion and I asked a woman, she said to me, the woman is the gift. And I said, no, I think the real gift is finding someone. In most cases, a man will definitely put his life on a line when he loves his woman within a heartbeat. But most women won't do that for their man.
I would agree with that.
So I told her the gift is finding someone who was not born in the same womb as you, who do not come from the same womb as you, who don't have the same blood as you, but yet and still they're willing to give their life for you. I think that man is the gift. She looked at me like, she's like, I disagree. I said, you've been plagued by this social media mentality. That's the difference of our grandmother and grandfathers understood. That man was a sacrificial lamb for his family. And he was willing to do everything and anything it took to put his family in a better position. by holding himself accountable, losing sleep, being disciplined, and also putting himself at the end of the totem pole when it comes to happiness. And they say that a woman will leave a man for her happiness. A man will stay with a woman just to keep his family happy. And he won't be happy at all. And I genuinely believe that to be a fact a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, we become very tolerable. And then if you know, like a lot of times, you know, the other day I was talking to a lady, and I think I told you this, Tyler. Anytime you state these kind of statements and someone rebuttals it, it's because a lot of people are very narcissistic. They're very narcissistic. They make it about how they feel. And I'm like, if you make everything about how you feel, that means you're disingenuine with anyone else's feelings.
Yeah.
Especially the opposite sex. I do believe that real men, we sacrifice ourselves. We put ourselves on the front line every day. And when I explain that to that same woman, if that man will get up and you expect him to go check that noise first, then he's the gift. I say he's the prize. If I have 2 security guards and one is willing to pass, like give his life for me, and one isn't willing, the one that's willing to is definitely the gift to me. He believes in me and loves me so much that he's willing to give himself for me. Like, come on, that's a gift. That's an ultimate gift, right? So then after I said that to her, she said, I never thought about that. I said, because you've been taught life by social media. And I think that's what everyone says what sounds good. And that's what social media does. It just put reels and clips of what sounds good. And some things, if you said it out loud, it don't make sense. But when you say it in your head, it makes all the sense. You know, what would you say something now moving forward you're gonna do to become a better man in itself?
Be present.
I love that. I love that.
I think you
Great
know,
response.
just saying being present hits a little bit deeper for me because I haven't maintained a sense of presence. You know, the end game will always be there. I think you and I are hardwired for the end game no matter
100%,
what.
100%.
But
We in it.
you know, it's okay to get stuck in the race, even though the race is, you know, a slow down in the race.
Yes.
What I like to do is, you know, I'm working on myself, you know, sitting here, I find myself working on myself with you.
I love it.
I was so excited to come today. I'm not
So
going
was
to lie
I.
to you because this is exactly what I wanted out of this.
Wow.
It was, I finally put my foot down. I started, you know, talking to people. I started doing a lot of things. I even got into the gym more just because I need to start taking care of myself and put myself first. It's a combination of putting myself first, like really putting yourself first, like really learning to love myself because
Yes.
I don't know how to do that. And then once I start feeling that love, I could start loving others.
I have to ask you this question. What does loving yourself even entail and look like to you?
And we're going to figure that out.
I love that. I love that. I love
But I'll
that.
say this though. I think it starts with sticking with what you know. Right? I'm a man of many journeys, many hustles, many jobs, but
Yes.
what I do love is I love helping people.
Yes.
I love teaching in a classroom.
Yes.
I love making people better than what they were yesterday.
I love that. I love that.
And if I can harness that or consume myself of it, at least it's a starting point.
You know what I would say though? On your highway to becoming that person, I think you should do a pit stop at something called grace. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace and forgive yourself also. Forgive yourself from everything you've done, whether intentionally or unintentional. Give yourself some grace because I do believe that a lot of times if we know better, we would do better. And we did exactly what we thought was better. And we continue to do what we thought was better. And now with knowing better, we're gonna do better. Stubborn Tauruses definitely will do better when we learn better. When you know, you know. So again, you can't hold yourself to what you didn't know. And beating yourself up about it, if I can go change a lot of things in my past, I would. But I wouldn't be who I am today. Everything is a part of our stories and our journeys on becoming the greatest versions of self. We have to experience it because without testimony, who can you help? Who can you save? Today, you probably impacted somebody's life that you don't even know from across seas and you don't even have a clue. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you didn't have a story, you would have sit there and just stared at the camera. Go ahead.
I'm starting to learn a lot from Q. Just like as being a highly motivated person, you really do have to give yourself grace, because I'll have so many good moments, so many new success and just new chapters. I'm like, yo, this is amazing, and then it's like, what's next? What's more? I need more, and if I don't get more, I've internally it just feels I feel horrible when I don't get more. It's like a drug, and it's just like just accepting where you're at, accepting your journey, embracing the process. Like some things we're doing, a lot of people they would love to do. Small things, you know, and we do a lot of big things, and it's like sometimes you just gotta, like you said, just give yourself grace and embrace it.
But you know why that is though? Because your motivation could be here, your accomplishments could be here, but you want to get here with your accomplishments. But sometimes you devalue your accomplishments because you're such a motivated person. Motivated people tend to move on to the next accomplishment. But again, you have to accept and enjoy where you are, so you can appreciate where you're going. If you don't appreciate where you're going, it's because you're too busy looking at where you've been. But now you got to enjoy that, but also enjoy every day. Every day is a growth, a process to grow and learn and develop and appreciate it. And I think that's where I've gotten to that point where I'm like, yo, I learned from this mistake. It was a lesson. I don't believe in L's. You know, people say loss or loser. I don't believe in those. I believe in lessons. Everything is a lesson for me. I've learned from it, and I've grown from it. And that's when it's a lesson, when you grow from it, right? You won't make the same decisions. So again, you grew from it, you know? Especially if your heart was in the right place when you're making a decision. If it was in the right place, I made poor choices, my heart was in the right place at that time. It wasn't intentional, but it is what it is. So I gotta ask before we get out of here today, what else would you want? So if you can go back right now, matter of fact, little Frankie is sitting in front of you. And this is your younger version of self. And you could look him in his eyes and pour into his spirit. What you've never told the world, what would you tell him?
Wow, that was a power. I would honestly keep it so simple. I would say two things.
I'm listening.
I go, you're fine just the way you are, and you're doing a great job.
Wow. Just imagine if little Frankie would have heard that.
It's that simple.
But can you do me a favor? Can you tell Big Frankie that right now?
Yeah.
Big Frankie needs to hear it. Let's tell him. You're doing a great job. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Sometimes, again, when we learn, we do better. So now we know better, we're going to do better.
I like that.
Listen, we live and we learn. We grow from every experience. We can't hold ourselves hostage anymore. You know, the knife has been laying in front of you. You only got one arm tied. You can grab it and cut the other one off. Let yourself go.
Yeah.
Right? You want to say anything to the guests before we get out of here today?
No, it's just this has been a really great experience. Thank you for hearing me. As crazy as it is, I'm like I tell people, I'm a happy meal, I'm item short of a happy meal, all fries and no prize.
I love it.
You know what though? You do what you got to do and stay humble, and that's it.
Well, today I want to thank Frank for coming out today. What he doesn't understand also, and I want him to understand, is while he's sitting here spewing his trauma, I'm spewing my trauma. We're having a therapy session within ourselves. I'm actually learning how to cope with life better by actually having these conversations. So a lot of times people say that this does so much for me. I say it does so much for me also. And it's helped me become a better person. It helped me learn how to deal with my anger. I used to be very angry. And the sad part is anger stems from a lot of times unaddressed issues. And if you overreact about something, it's because something you didn't react about. So I'm overreacting about this spoon because there's a bigger underlying issue that I needed to see what's wrong with me. And now moving forward, I've learned that my anger don't control me. I control my anger. I control every decision I make. I control how I treat people because I want them to treat me as such. And when a person hasn't reached the level of evolution that I've evolved to, I still give them grace because I know what it feels like to be there. Because rule number one of not being happy is self-sabotaging. And something that could have been a blessing to you, we tend to hurt it because we're not being a blessing to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, till next time, guys. Don't let that go over your head.